Chapter 1. The chapter begins with the principal of Stardom Schools walking onto the podium from the back of the assembly hall. His gait is unusual, and this shocks the students. As he grabs the microphone from the chapel prefect, he attempts to speak, but no words come out. Instead, he begins to cry in front of the perplexed students. The vice principal, Mrs. Grace Appa, steps forward and, after inquiring about the problem without receiving a response, instructs the chemistry teacher, Mr. Justice Annabelle, to conclude the assembly and dismiss the students to their classes. Once the students leave, the vice principal, joined by the school nurse and other staff members, leads the principal, now referred to as Mr. Beepo, to his office. They continue to ask him what is wrong, but he continues to weep uncontrollably for over 30 minutes. Soon rumors about the principal's breakdown begin to circulate among some parents. As the vice principal's phone starts ringing with calls of concern from the parents, she feels compelled to contact the managing director, MD, Mrs. Ibiden Gloss, who is attending a function outside the school. The day had not begun on this tearful note. Earlier, the school management had announced a reduction in boarding fees as a strategy to reduce lateness among students. The fees were lowered from $250,000 to $165,000 per session. This initiative encouraged 80% of parents to enroll their children in the boarding house and led most students to arrive as early as 7:45 a.m. for the morning assembly. Interestingly, the parents did not complain when the fee for excursion. That morning's assembly had followed the usual routine. That day, they sang the second stanza of the national anthem, O God of Creation, direct our noble cause, as they usually did on Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, they had their normal Christian and Muslim prayers, along with the first stanza of the national anthem. After the anthem, an SS1 student, Ikenna Egbu, was invited to deliver a speech about an excursion to Jos he had just participated. His vivid description of Jos's beauty and cool, inviting weather earned cheers and applause from the students. Following Ikenna's captivating speech, the students and staff expected the principal to commend him. Known for his 24 years of service, Beepo was highly respected by his employers, parents, and other stakeholders for his ever-burning passion to see his students grow in all ramifications, and was expected to be on top of the world after this speech. They were all eager to hear something special from the tall, light-skinned principal. Nicknamed the Lekki Headmaster for his humorous imitations of characters from the old TV drama Village Headmaster, during his time as headmaster of Stardom Kiddies. But Mr. Beepo's silence and distress left everyone stunned. The ND promptly returned to the school. After being informed of the situation, she was shocked, especially since the previous day, the school had celebrated an impressive 90% success rate in the West African School Certificate Examination WAS. Teachers had been rewarded with snacks, bottles of wine, and $20,000 each for the SS3 teachers. The ND arrives at 9:30 a.m. and summons Mr. Beepo to her office to understand the issue. However, he remains unresponsive and begins to weep again. The ND invites Mr. Opwand, the physics teacher, who is also a pastor, to speak with the principal. He stoops beside the principal and tries his best to find out what is wrong, but after 10 minutes of gentle probing, he gives up. Pastor 1 suggests contacting Mrs. Beepo. Beepo gives them his wife's number, which is an international number. They dial it, but it does not go through. The ND suggests sending the principal home, but Pastor 1 objects as he believes that leaving him alone in such a state might be unsafe. The MD, worried about the impact of this dramatic incident on the school's reputation, decides that Mr. Beepo should be escorted home. She directs the school's guidance counselor to accompany him to ensure his safety and well-being. Chapter 2. After 5 days, Merbipo eventually reveals that he is leaving Nigeria for the United Kingdom, as he can no longer withstand the pressure to relocate. His foot dragging over the matter had pushed his marriage to the brink. He did not want to leave his students, but his family was also keen on his mind. His 2 children, Nike and Kike, have also joined forces with his wife to force him to relocate. He had spent 4 years as the headmaster at Stardom Kiddies, the nursery, primary arm of the school, and the rest of his time as the principal at the secondary school. It is his years at Stardom Kiddies that earned him the nickname, the Lekki Headmaster. The name was actually used first by Mr. Adu, who joked about Merbipo's humanistic and empathetic disposition, which allowed him to resolve conflicts amicably. He said, "The way the headmaster masterly resolves these fights reminds me of the way King Aloja in Village Headmaster resolved all the roforofos brought by his chiefs and villagers. So, as they had their own village headmaster, we also have our own Lekki Headmaster, even after Bipo became the principal of the secondary school. This nickname stuck. Many of Mr. Bipo's colleagues found his reaction to his relocation abroad extremely funny, as it is surprising to see someone who had the golden opportunity to relocate abroad be reluctant to do so. His wife Sari is a nurse and is earning up to £10,000 per month, and Merbipo got a teaching job that pays about £3,600 and other entitlements. All of these would provide him a life that is much better than the one he has in Nigeria, where he is paid only about £400,000 per month. Merbipo's colleagues discuss all of these amongst themselves and criticize his reluctance to leave. Bipo planned to retire from Stardom at 55, which is still 4 years away. He had plans to become a business owner and to develop fellow men and his country. Bipo also thought of establishing his school. He recalled what he had learned in one of his entrepreneurship seminars about the importance of starting small. He also knew that it was better to build a school in a place where the residents could afford the kind of education he would provide. He remembered establishing a neighborhood school, Fruitful Future, with a friend shortly after his national youth service. It turned out unsuccessful because the parents in the area could not afford the school. He thought about other business ventures like farming, food and sachet pure or bottled water businesses. He especially considered the commercial transportation business, as he believed that someone with minimal capital could begin it, and that it would begin to make money as soon as the vehicle was purchased. However, he was wary about the stories he had heard about how many commercial drivers are untrustworthy, as they come up with different stories so that they can keep the profits for themselves. But Bipo still kept this option open, as he is reminded that if big companies like ABC and God is Good Motors could operate successfully, there is still an opportunity for him. However, now he has to set aside those dreams, as he would be relocating to a new environment where he would be earning more and sharing a new life with his wife and children. Chapter 3. Bipo finally resolves to relocate and begins to listen to tales from others who have relocated earlier. He always knew that payment abroad could be hourly, daily, weekly, or monthly, unlike Nigeria, where wartime salaries were more common. He preferred the hourly system, which made it easy for the employee to change jobs as often as he wanted and for the employer to closely monitor their employees. It neutralized the Yoruba proverb, which is interpreted as whether an employer records gains or not, the employee will yet take home his full pay. This, he believed, was why these other countries have developed. He heard that one could earn between $150 to $250 per day and gather up to $2,400 per month. This is a substantial amount compared to the N160 that Nigerians earn. He also gathered that skilled work was also the best option for those relocating abroad. He learned that nurses, Doctors and other health workers have been migrating at an alarming rate. About 1,000 of the country's 3,000 doctors migrate annually. Graduates are also leaving the country through education visas. He also observed that some people use crooked means to get the resources needed. To JAMB, he remembered Mr. who one of the staff at Stardom who took an $2 million loan from the school as cooperative and relocated abroad 2 days later, and one of the school S drivers who tried to sell the school S bus to pay for his son's college fees abroad. Solo was one of his colleagues at Stardom who had relocated to the UK with her husband about 6 months earlier. She reassured Bipo that his settling into the UK would be without stress since his wife was already there. She relates how most couples who migrate have to share the responsibilities. While one works, the other one studies. She also narrates how she and her husband had to sell everything and borrow $1 million to fund their trip. Most people relocate to the UK because of the opportunity for their children to enjoy quality education. Bipo's children, Nike and Kike, enjoyed free primary and secondary education and did not have to pay fees until Nike went to university. This is unlike the kids at Stardom, who pay millions of naira for their children's education. Healthcare in the UK was also free, especially for children who enjoy mandatory regular checkups. However, the tales from abroad were not always so good. Jer is a young man who abandoned his banking job and burst into tears when he realized he had to care for an old couple in London. An accountant named Hope, who secured admission for a master's degree, relocated to the UK with his wife. His wife worked to fund his studies. However, after a few months, his wife decided to stop providing for him. All this made Bipo realize that people always had different results from life's intriguing tests. PG.17. He recalled a proverb from one of his former Doma co-tenants about how the sugarcane and the bitter leaf got different tastes from the same rain that nurtured them. There was also the question of bringing independence from Nigeria. While some are keen on sponsoring their relatives like Reek, who invited 2 of her sisters to the US, others are not ready to. Chapter 4. Bipo is in his room at Adeniyi Jones, Ikeja, Lagos, where Bipo receives a call from Mrs. Ignatius, the parent of a student, just as he is about to say his night prayers. He was not okay with the overly cordial relationship that Mrs. Ignatius was extending towards him. He always related to his students and staff with humor and compassion, but he did not appreciate being taken for granted just like Mrs. Ignatius was doing. Mrs. Ignatius's husband, Mr. Ignatius, who works as a manager in an oil firm, also decided to JAMB with his family. He argued that he would not want his children to grow up in Nigeria, where the children of those who went abroad come to be their children as leaders and superiors. Mrs. Ignatius was in love with this idea and soon started learning tailoring and hairdressing so that she too could earn some money abroad. Mrs. Ignatius had quit her job as a clerical officer while her husband had closed up his clearing and forwarding side business as they prepared to relocate when something terrible happened. While processing their visa, a DNA test revealed that Mr. Ibe is not the father of one of their 3 children. Favor an SSS to girl at Stardom. This is the subject of Mrs. Ignatius' late-night call. Her husband had told them, Mrs. Ignatius and Favor, to leave the house. He was not sure how to respond to this situation. He was aware of the fact that some of these rich parents can be selfish and nasty. He is reminded of an incident that led to the sacking of Muraisero, who was the government teacher. One of his students, Bibi, had a dream about the government teacher. Bibi told her mother, Mrs. Liddell, that the government teacher appeared to her in her dream with his tribal mark. His tribal marks are so deep and prominent that the student nicknamed him Mr. Allah, a derogatory Yoruba name for a person with wild facial marks. Every time Bibi saw Muraisero, she became scared. The dreams continue until Mrs. Liddell goes to the school to file a complaint. Worried that they would lose Bibi and her siblings to another school, the management transferred her ISRO to Stardom Hub, the property wing of Stardom Group of Companies. Chapter 5. The MD chooses to take a walk rather than retreat to the private room in her office, as she always does. She walks towards a piece of land that Stardom had acquired 2 years ago, and that was 5 minutes away from the school's back gate. She discovers that the teachers and some other staff are using the land as a park instead of the park allotted to them within the school's premises. She is shocked by the number of big cars and buses that she sees in the car park. She immediately summons the principal and accountant to figure out if the teachers and staff are stealing from the show. All when the MD asks how the teachers and staff can afford the cars. The principal advises that they retreat to the office to discuss it. The principal reassures her that the school purse is fine and that the staff had gotten the money through the school as cooperative. The MD inquires further how much is in the account of the Stardom Cooperative Society that it could buy every fool the car of his or her choice. Her choice of words shocked both men. The following day, she called for a meeting of the board of directors where she was able to ascertain that the cooperative society had in 95 million, while over in 50 million had been loaned out. The MD shares her concern about how the staff can use that money to establish their school and steal their brand. She uses the simile, "It is like hanging a snake in the roof and going to bed." The board eventually reached a decision that no staff member could borrow more than $250,000, that all loan requests had to be approved by the MD and that the management must be informed about the cooperative elections. Chapter 6. It is open day at Stardom schools. The teachers at Stardom look forward to gifts from parents that come in cash and kind, especially the class teachers. Some teachers also dread open day because parents often come with a lot of complaints. Merbipo recalls an episode where an English teacher, Mr. Frory, was sacked for a trivial complaint made by a parent, Mr. Gouda. Merguda was in the MD's office asking for Mr. Frory to be sacked. He recalls several other incidents where teachers were sacked. Some who were sacked were guilty and others were just victims of circumstance or even conspiracy. He always felt bad whenever he had to write a sack letter. He understands what can drive people to do things like this. He recalls an incident a long time ago when he was out of a job and had no savings. Merbipo was instructed to send for Merfafor, who was teaching a class. Merbipo was not okay with calling a teacher out of the class as it left the students idle. Merfori could have given the notes to the class prefect so that the students could continue copying the notes, but this practice has been discontinued because a parent had sued the school because of this. They had no other option than to leave the student idle. While they walked to the MD's office, the principal questioned Mr. Fafor to know why he was about to be sacked, but Merfafor was clueless as well. He then asked if he argued with Merguda, but Merfafor responded that Mr. Gouda only walked into the class, checked his son's books, and said nothing before he left abruptly. Merbipo broke the news that he had been sacked, and Mr. Fafor left for the staff room, devastated. He went to the staff room to collect his personal items where his fellow teachers had heard the news. The teachers concluded that there was no job security in the establishment. At a meeting that occurred immediately after, the MD revealed to the teacher why Mr. Fafor was fired. Merguda had discovered a grammatical error in his son's note. Aid as well as Jide comes early. This made him so angry that he threatened to withdraw his children from the school. She says that the sentence should read, Aid as well as Jide come early. The principal responded to the MD's fiery speech about Merfafor's incompetence by saying that the sentence Merfafor taught was correct. He said, when you use and, the verb that follows is come. But when you use as well as, together with, alongside, etc., we fo for the singular verb with s. The clause is in the subjunctive mood and does not align with normal grammar rules. Not satisfied with the principal's explanation, she directed everyone to look it up on their phones. They all discover that both for and the principal are right. The ND felt deflated having sacked a hard-working teacher, but Murata breaks the ice with a joke. Eventually, she re-employs Mr. Fafour. Chapter 7. Bipo recalls joining Stardom Schools after a disagreement that he had at his former school Bisway Group of School, located on the outskirts of Lagos. He tried to correct the grammatical error in the name. He pointed out that the school ought to be called Bisway Group of Schools. The director, Mr. E.G. Meko, thanked him mockingly, knowing fully well that he would not change the name. He claims that the name was divinely inspired and that no one was complaining about the name. Bipo tried to raise this issue countless times, but to no avail. Eventually, a couple of parents raised the same issue at one of the PTA meetings. The director calls into his office and accuses him of telling the parents about the error in the school's name. Bipo argues that he had done no such thing. Bipo eventually leaves the school after an incident that he considers to be ungodly occurs. One night, while in his room at Bisway staff quarters, he noticed something strange going on far in the distance. He discovered a group of 5 men. One of them was holding a cow by a leash. 2 men emerged from a pit and were leading the cow into the pit. Immediately, Bipo grabs his machete and heads out towards the men. He soon discovered that the director was among the group. Bipo protested that they should not be burying a cow while the director warned him to go away. When he did not listen, one of the men hit him on the head from behind and Bipo fell on his back. Before his accomplice can do some damage, the director quickly pacifies them and helps Bipo back up. He takes Bipo back to his room before he continues to complete his dark assignment. Bipo was shocked by the entire ordeal. He had heard tales of rituals carried out by school owners and patrons of other businesses. He recalled when he started Fruitful Future School with his colleague. The school he had built was flourishing for a while as the number of pupils had grown to over 70 in the 3rd session. One day, one of the parents, Mr. Ogo, walks into his office to suggest that he perform a rite that would supernaturally flood the school with pupils in no time. PG.38. Bipo chooses not to do this, and Murogo withdrew his child from the school afterwards. Soon, the school shut down after its neighborhood was deserted by those who could afford the school fees because its roads became bad. 10 years later, Bipo discovers that Mr. Ogo murdered a civil servant, a woman who had consulted him for a spiritual solution to her infertility. She had paid him in 9 million naira over a year and nothing happened. The woman asked for a refund and threatened to arrest him if he did not pay up. Eventually, he murdered her after inviting her to his home. Bipo thought of reporting the Bisway director, but he knew nothing would come of it. The next morning, Bipo got a call from the director to see him in his office. Before he went to the director's office, he moved his belongings out of his room and the staff room. The director apologized for the assault he suffered and claimed that the scene of the previous night was part of a special prayer for his late father, who had given him the land on which the school was built. Chapter 8. Bipo wishes to resolve a legal tussle between the families of 2 of his pupils that has been going on for 3 years before relocating to the UK. The school had conducted an election for a new set of prefects. The contestants bought forms depending on the positions they wished to contest for. Forms for the position of head boy and head girl was N50,000 and 40,000 for the deputies and N25,000 for all other positions. After purchasing the forms, they would be screened by a panel constituted by the management. The screening ensured that participants were above average academically and that they had a good moral history. Right. Especially in the school, the students read out their expression of interest letter to the panel, and their power of communication was gauged. When they scaled through, the successful candidates were revealed to the students so that they could get familiar with them and raise any objections through letters to the panel. The names were pasted on the notice board for 2 weeks, after which the candidates would address the students on the much anticipated speech day. The election was then held the next day. On speech day, however, something terrible happened. Banky, an SSS2 student vying for the post of social prefect, during her speech says, "Instead of voting for the son of an ex-convict, cast your vote for me. You will never regret it." He said this about her key opponent, Tosh, who is also an SSS2. Before the principal could disapprove of these words, Tosh walked out of the hall. Tosh's father, Chief Ogbo, was not an ex-convict, but he had spent 36 months in detention as a face trial for alleged misappropriation of N2.5 billion government contract sum. The case dragged on for 5 years, but he was released and was ordered to refund the sum. Chief Ogbo insisted that Banky and his parents write letters of apology to himself and his son, and that the letters be published in the school magazine, but Banky's parents declined to do this. Depot is hoping that he could get the warring parties to settle out of court before he relocated. He is also upset that he would miss the Invention Club, especially the Breath Project, the club that made phones out of recycled panels and chips. Project had attracted media and government interest. He fears that if he left Nigeria, the project could derail. He promised he would do everything he could to fly in from the UK to be part of the launch. Chapter 9 Stardom is especially known for planning great excursions. Merbipo ensures that an excursion takes place every year so that the students have a good grasp of their country before they are sent abroad. The students visited places like Dikogosi Warm Springs in Ekiti State, Aranigisha Waterfalls in Osun State, and the O Waterfalls in Kwara, which is the highest in West Africa, measuring 120 meters above water level and cascading 330 feet down an escarpment. The students also went down to the Garara Falls in Niger State. Stardom also plans to visit other waterfalls, like the Kwa Falls in Enija, Calabar Isapan Plateau, Karu in Nasarawa, and Burup in Gembu, Taraba. Stardom had also visited the Okari Games Reserve in Bauchi, the National War Museum in Umuahia, Abia, the Hanging Lake in Aduawe, Oyo State, the amazing Kano Palace, and the Uniavife Palace in Ilife. The students have also attended several festivals, including the Calabar Carnival, Asano Sogbo Festival, Arganu Festival in Kebbi, and the Ofala Festival in Onitsha. They also visited several sites in Lagos, such as the National Theatre in Iganmu Surular, the National Museum, the Musin Center, and City Mall, all in Anikan, as well as so many other places. When the students visited areas like Mushin, Ijeganal, and Ijora, they were filled with derision. But Merbipo told them, "If you are determined, committed to education, and make the best use of your talent, time will move you from slum to limelight. You will be surprised to learn that many of those you see on Banana Island started off in slums somewhere in the country. Life is about movement. It is ever ready to move upward folks who make the best use of their talents, money, and opportunities." They also visited the Akron of Badagry, who narrated the history of Badagry and slave trade in the region to the students. One of the students asked the Akron if it was true that the name Badagry was derived from Agbadariji. The monarch confirmed this to be true. They visited so many other monuments of the slave trade and missionary activities in Badagry. Merbipo was exceptionally moved by the memory of the ugly experience the slaves went through as he was at the Black Heritage Museum. He especially drew out the irony in the fact that Africans themselves are now voluntarily moving into the workforce of those who seem to be their former masters, all in a bid to japa. He saw this as a new slavery. Chapter 10. Mr. Bipo's passport had expired 2 years earlier, and he did not bother to renew it as he had not been too keen on relocating. He was also afraid of going to renew it as he had heard tales of the new rules and hassles that applicants were experiencing. However, when he realizes that he has no other option than to renew it, he is not ready to face the hassles, and so he explores other options. He realizes that he could bribe an immigration officer, but he would require up to $200,000 to $250,000 and could have his passport renewed in less than a month. He could also travel to the immigration service in any neighboring state. He eventually chooses to go to Ibadan. Although the law states that the process could be done online or manually without the use of middlemen, he is told by an agent in Ibadan that this law existed only on paper. At first, Bipo speaks with the agent, Tai, on the phone, where he is told to pay in 1 million for a 10-year renewal, 64 pages instead of the official N700. He sets off on the journey to Ibadan on a Tuesday afternoon so that he would be able to meet up with Tai by 7 o'clock a.m. the next day as discussed on the phone. The journey to Ibadan is stress-free and takes only 50 minutes, as opposed to the one he had with his students on an excursion about 10 years ago, which took about 2 hours. On the road, he observes a lot of churches and mosques. He finds it ironic that Nigeria has many religionists, but few godly people. Bipo retrains himself, thinking this to be a judgmental thought. He also notices a lot more businesses along the expressway. As the Sienna car he rode on enters Ibadan, he is fascinated by the phenomenal Ibadan landscape. He is reminded of the poem Ibadan by J.P. Clark. Ibadan, running splash of rust and gold flung and scattered among 7 hills like broken china in the sun. He arrives at the immigration office around 6:40 a.m. the following day. He discovers that Tai is not an immigration personnel but a business center operator working in cahoots with some immigration staff. Tai gives Bipo all the necessary data and sends him off to the official that he works with. The official takes the document in for validation and tells Bipo to return for data capturing in 3 weeks. Bipo is surprised that the exercise was so fast, and the officer tells him that this is why he paid extra. Bipo gives him a N2,000 tip. Chapter 11. The school has come to terms with Mr. Bipo's leaving and has prepared a farewell celebration for him. He has to delay his flight plan to be able to attend the farewell. The airline charged him a $100 fine for cancellation, which the school was glad to pay on his behalf. The farewell begins on a Wednesday with a hilarious match between the staff and students. With the help of Mr. I, the games master, the staff win fraudulently with a score of 3-2. On Thursday, a debate is held in his honor. The topic was, the arts have contributed more to the development of the country than the sciences. At the end of the debate, he is enamored by the brilliance and candor of his students, and he remembers the old Yoruba adage which translates as, even if Oniris, the master carver, eventually bows out of the trade, the carvings he had bequeathed to the world will live on. Friday is the grand finale of the send-off. There were a lot of performances, including song presentations, comedic performances where they mimicked the teachers, and a string of dances from the drama club. As the drama club presents a dance about their experience in Badagry, Bipo becomes emotional as is taken back to the Heritage Slavery Museum. He does not realize when he yells out, "Nu!" The performance stops, and everyone begins to stare at him. He immediately comports himself and saves face by retorting, "I mean, no school could have done the canoe dance better. None at all." Opening parenthesis PG.56. The audience applauds. In the end, the MD offers a heartfelt speech narrating how Mr. Bipo, who is now referred to by his full name, Adwell Bipo, was hired by her father, who knew he would be a valuable addition to the school. She showers a lot of praise on him and eventually offers him a farewell gift in an envelope. The ND reveals that it contains a check of $10,000, the highest stardom had ever presented to a disengaging member of staff. Then Merbipo is given the microphone to offer his speech. He does this amidst sobbing, which the audience understood. Chapter 12. Mr. Bipo is set to leave on a flight by 10 p.m. on a Saturday, and boarding rights are set to begin around 5 p.m. He chooses to leave around 3 p.m. As he is about to call an Uber, his landlord, Mr. Ogunwell, and his family come to bid their farewells. The landlord offers to drive him to the airport. Ogunwell offers a brief prayer for the traveler and then proceeds to drive his Honda Pilot out of the garage. Merbipo packed big bags and a smaller one. His wife had advised him to travel light but not to forget essential items like Iro locust beans and agusi with ground crayfish and dry snail. He found all of these at the famous Oinbo market. Bipo had sold his car for him $1.5 million to the Stardom School's accountant and had gifted his electronics to the landlady. As they drive to the Murtala Muhammad Airport, they meet the vice principal, Mrs. Grace Appa, the accountant. Muroyalana and Murando along the road. They had planned to accompany him to the airport. At the airport, the Stardom staff follow him to the check-in point where they go through the security points and get his bags checked. The staff has to bid farewell as they depart to beat the Lagos traffic. As he settles down waiting for the boarding call, he falls asleep and dreams that he is at the Heritage Museum in Badagry, where he is counting the slaves who are beaten and then forced to enter the ship at the point of no return. He counts the slaves, all 7 million of them, and at the end, a white man tells him to enter the ship. He yells, "Nu!" This is when an airline official gently tapped on his shoulder. It is time for him to get on board the plane. The Monday after Merbipo's departure, the students and the ND feel the impact of his absence. However, the ND assures the students that they would get another principal. But just before the ND could say more, the students draw her attention to Bipo, who has returned. The students immediately sweep him off his feet as he tells them that he is back and that he is not leaving as he is going to complete his mission. His voice is barely heard as the students chant the school's victory song.